Alright, welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio, and today we're taking a look at some of the Warzone Nachmund Rift War rules. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and warcry content as well. If you find yourself watching any of my one or multiple a day videos every single day, please give us a like and subscribe, as it does really help the channel and exposure, and I would really appreciate it as well. That being said, let's jump right in. Command a near endless horde of teleporting Tzaangor in the new Warp-Meld Pact, Army of Renown. So we have a new Army of Renown for the Warzone Nachmund Rift War. The next chapter of Nachmund Saga has been revealed. In Warzone Nachmund Rift War, Harkin Worldclaimer advances to claim the Nachmund Gauntlet for Abaddon. If he succeeds, he'll cut the Imperium in 2, plunging trillions of souls into darkness. And he's not alone in his terrible quest. An array of factions are duking it out for dominance over Nachmund. Drukhari artists, Space Marine raiders, Chaos and Imperial Knights, and even the mutable sorcerers of the Thousand Suns Legion. There's a really nice piece of art right here. I believe that's Ahriman. And we've got another pretty cool sorcerer there on disc. Very cool art. Definitely liking that. Nice and colorful. Warzone Nachmund Rift War details the juicy narrative of desperate defenders and unholy opportunists in full, and is also stuffed with new rules for bringing the Rift War to the tabletop, including an army of renown that will have the ever-fluctuating followers of Tzeentch cawing in celebration. Armies of Renown, if you're not familiar, are special rules that go along with existing rules from your codex or other supplements, and basically just give you some special rules if you follow certain like army building sort of criteria. So Warp-Meld Pacts are sorcerer warbands who see real space as an imperfect reflection of the shapeless warp, and so they've come to Nachmund Gauntlet, the galaxy's most stable path through the Great Rift. These roving heretics exemplify change using mutagenic powers and tricksy magics to create monstrous chaos spawn and worse. So here we see a pretty big squad of Tzaangors and a Tzaangor shaman on disc battling some salamanders. Again, really nice looking paint jobs on these guys, nice and bright. These twisted energies are a clarion call for the Tzaangors, who poke their beaks out from the immaterium to join these mobile cabals in their droves. No longer bound by the mere servants rule, acolytes of Tzeentch in the 41st millennia may now take armies composed of vast flocks of Tzaangors, without the need for Mangus-mandated dusty boys. Such is their mutant savagery that the Warp-Meld Pacts can't include vehicles, demons, or cultists, have to use the discipline of change, and don't receive the Brotherhood of Sorcerers ability. Oh man, that's tough. So there's basically special rules that let you ignore the mere servants, which the mere servants rule is essentially that you can't have more Tzaangor squads in your army than you have squads of Rubric Terminators or Rubric Marines, or like Scarab Occult Terminators or Rubric Marines. So if you have, say, like 3 units of Rubric Marines and 1 unit of Terminators, you could only have a total of 4 Tzaangor squads. So you can't take like more Tzaangor squads basically than you have your Rubrics and Terminators. That being said, you ignore that rule, so you can take as many Tzaangors as you want, but the Tzaangors are not particularly like great this edition, unfortunately. They're not costed correctly, arguably, which is why people don't take them that often. And then the Warp-Meld Pacts can't include vehicles, demons, or cultists. So you're giving up vehicles and demons and cultists to take more Tzaangors when the Tzaangors aren't good right now. So that just seems like a terrible trade. I mean, I could see giving up like cultists, possibly even demons, but I mean, even like demon engines are considered demons. So you're severely restricting your list to take extra Tzaangors and not have your Tzaangor selections be restricted. So they must have some pretty awesome rules, or this is going to be a complete flop. In exchange for units of Tzaangor, as well as Chaos Spawn and your Psychic Leaders, receive the Touch by Tzeentch rule. Phasing in and out of reality as they are bound towards their foes, they receive 5+ invulnerable saves, along with the ability to shrug off mortal wounds on a roll of 5 up. Receive. Okay, so basically your chaos spawn get a 5-up invulnerable save. The Zangors already have a 5-up invulnerable save. And then the Zangors and the chaos spawn have the ability to shrug mortal wounds on a 5-up. Again, I mean, so you're giving Zangors a 5-up shrug on mortal wounds, and then chaos spawns are getting boosted. I mean, chaos spawns, like, they're okay, but I don't think you're gonna like win the game spamming chaos spawns and Zangors. I don't know. So far, not impressed. Hopefully they have some big like home run at the end. Touched by Tzeentch. Models in this unit have a 5-up invulnerable save. Each time a model in this unit would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll a d6 on a 5-up. That wound is not lost. At the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins, models in this unit can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. They cannot end this move within 9 inches of any enemy models. If both players have units that can do this, the player who is taking the first turn moves their units first. So they get a scout move as well, 6 inches at the beginning of the game. Again, not bad. The unpredictable rhythm of their stuttering strut also lets these units move 6 inches at the start of the first battle round. Plus the new strength of the Brayherd ability means Zangor shamans who are surrounded by a fiendish flock can generate extra cabal points for your ritualistic needs. Avian appreciators, rest assured, there's even more in store for your feathered friends. Warp-Meld Pacts have access to Manipulator of Reality, Warlord Trait, allowing you to Sorceress Leader to navigate the rolling whirls of the Ephraim and shuffle up to 3 friendly Zangors after deployment. So redeploy for 3 Zangor squads. At the start of the first battle round, after any of your units from your army have performed any normal moves as a result of the Touch by Tzeentch ability, you can select up to 3 friendly Zangor units. Remove these units from the battlefield and then set them up anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your deployment zone. If the mission you are playing uses the Strategic Reserves rule, you can place any of these units in Strategic Reserve instead, without having to spend any additional command points, regardless of how many units are already in Strategic Reserve. So redeploys are definitely good. They're definitely good. They give you that extra flexibility. At the start of the first battle round, after any units from your army have performed any normal moves as a result of the Touch by Tzeentch ability, you can select up to 3 friendly Zangor units, remove those units from the battlefield, and then set them up wholly anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your deployment zone. So you could basically, if you have some Zangors out of place, after they take their scout move, you can then just pull them back and then put them back inside of your deployment zone. So I guess if you were going to be like super offensive and then your opponent wins first turn, you could kind of pull them back. I don't know. Again, just doesn't seem that great. Spot a gap in your enemy's defenses. Need to shore up your lines. You can enfold your brutal birds out of reality and back into a new position, anywhere wholly within your deployment zone. And then once they're in your deployment zone, you've lost your ability to make that scout move. You can even place these units in your strategic reserves without spending any additional command points. Plans within plans. So I could see that being useful. You pull 20 Zangors off the table. Your opponent thinks there's going to be a bunch of Zangors there. They deploy accordingly. You pull them off the table. You put them in strategic reserves. And then you like outflank on later turns. And you're not spending any command points for it. That I could see being potentially beneficial. Or maybe like removing like a unit of Zangor shamans. Or like, you know, some other stronger Zangors. And then repositioning them to like overload one flank or something like that. So now it says you can't take any demons or vehicles. I wonder if the demon engines are still acceptable, because that's actually not that bad then. If you can't take regular vehicles or regular demons, that's one thing. If you can still take the demon engines, you know, you basically are just building a little more flavored army, but that wouldn't be that bad. So maybe that's where they're going with this. I'd have to look at the actual like keywords and how it's worded and everything to see for sure. And they definitely didn't do a good job explaining that part, if you're able to take demon engines. Of course, it wouldn't be a Thousand Suns army if you didn't have a host of mind-bending, Kabbalistic rituals to perform. While invulnerable saves and their newfound resistance to mortal wounds already makes them pretty tough, the Bray change rends your Zangors atrociously difficult to put down for good. So the Bray Change, 6 Cabal points. Use this Kabbalistic ritual before taking a psychic test or Blessing of Malediction psychic power. When taking that psychic test, roll 1 additional d6. If the result of that psychic test is 10 or more and it's not denied, select a friendly unit within 9 inches, a friendly Zangor unit, of the psychic that manifested this power. If that unit has the Bray keyword, return up to 2d3 destroyed models to that unit with their full wounds remaining. Otherwise, return up to a d3. So you can return between 1 and 6 Zangors when you do Blessing of Malediction. So that could be okay. I mean, pulling back 6 Zangors is definitely, it's not nothing. Not only do you get to roll an extra d6 on your psychic test for the Blessing of Malediction, if you roll a 10 or more, you can shape fresh mutants from the ether, buff a nearby unit with Glamour of Tzeentch, and bolster them further by bringing back 2d3 Zangors or d3 Zangor Enlightened. To keep the fight going, adapt and overcome, adapt some more. Tzeentch likes that. Okay, so that's not actually what this says. If the unit, okay, it does. I'm sorry. If it has the Bray keyword, return up to 2d3 destroyed models to that unit with their full wounds remaining. So that is regular Zangors, and then otherwise return up to a d3 destroyed models to that unit with their full wounds remaining. So that could actually be pretty good, because if you're pulling back, 1 to 3 Zangor Enlightened, that's a whole different game, because they're actually pretty good. So yeah, that actually is pretty good rule. And then what do you need to cast it? A 10? Well, you're already rolling on average on 2 dice is a 7, and then on the third dice is either like 3.5 technically. So on average, you're already going to roll it plus any buffs you have to your casting. So more likely than not, you're going to be able to cast that every turn. So that is actually pretty good. Shifty stratagems also abound. There are 7 in total, such as Ephemeral Existence, which bestows upon your Zangors the ability to flicker through the obstacles as if they weren't there. So 1 command point. Use this stratagem in your movement phase when a Warp-Meld Pact Zangor unit from your army is selected to move. Until the end of the turn, each time that unit makes a normal move, advances, falls back, or makes a charge move, until the move is finished, models in that unit can move horizontally through models and terrain features. They cannot finish their move on top of another model or its base. So they can just move through terrain as if it wasn't there. So that is actually a pretty good ability. Basically allows them to, it's sort of like a gotcha type moment, but even if it's not, just the threat range of them is exponentially better. If you have a big solid wall right in front of you that you normally wouldn't be able to get through or traverse, you'd have to go around. You can basically just run straight through it. So again, that is pretty good. There's definitely some cool stuff here. The kind of occult trickery can turn a battlefield packed with immersive terrain into a playground for your beaked bad boys. It all culminates in a full army of shifty, hard-to-kill Zangors that swarm back to the battlefield like a flock of angry magpies, led by a coven of Kabbalistic sorcerers. If bending reality and the rules sounds like your idea of fun, you'll be happy to know that there is more in store for 1,000 Suns in the Warlord Nachmund Rift War. For example, what are these curious questants actually going to do with all that warp junk they salvage from the gauntlet? We'll be back soon with more peeks at what you can find in your upcoming campaign book. So, I don't play 1,000 Suns. I feel like I know the rules decently. There's definitely some potential for some cool stuff here. Definitely could be neat. I don't see this as being some absolutely amazing, game-breaking, Zangor themed Swarm. Again, if a composition like this works, which I'm assuming it does, which means you can still take your demon engines, you can't have regular demons, you can't have vehicles, you basically get a bunch of buffed chaos spawns, you remove the restrictions on all the Zangors, and then you gain the ability to, potentially bring back Zangor Enlightened or regular Zangors, etc. That could be pretty cool. They're pretty costly in points, so bringing back 1 to 3 of those per turn throughout the game, 5 turns of bringing back, 1 to 3 of those guys, is a decent little points boost for sure. in an army that doesn't normally have like medic type situation. Boosting Zangors so that they're not affected by the mortal wounds and cast spawn as well. It's not bad, as we see a bunch of super strong psychic armies, so I could see that being pretty good as well. Tyranids and Eldari, obviously very strong psychers, so giving them resistance to like mortal wounds, and there's also a lot of mortal wounds from other stuff too. I could see that being pretty good. I'm not sure if what you give up is worth what you get. I'd have to see a little bit more of the rules, honestly. You're giving up vehicles, you're giving up demons, which for some people probably not a big deal, as long as you can take the demon engine still. So I could actually see that being pretty good. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's definitely some potential here. It doesn't restrict you from taking Terminators. It doesn't restrict you from taking rubrics or, any of the regular Tzeentch Marines or Thousand Suns Marines, whatever, characters, etc. From what I've seen. So it's basically just, if you're looking to play a Zangor heavy army, here's your opportunity. And to tell you the truth, with how many Zangors they've unloaded in all the recent boxes lately, including like the combat patrol, there's some potential here. I mean, there's probably a lot of people sitting on like 50 plus Zangors, so this would probably give you an opportunity of busting them out. There's definitely some potential. Again, as we see some more rules, I think that will kind of open this up a little bit. Now, they have talked about campaign play in here quite a few times. But they don't specifically talk about if this is going to be like match play rules, because they keep mentioning campaigns. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's tough to tell if they're talking about like the campaign of the Thousand Suns in like the kind of lore, or if they're talking about like campaign as in like, different styles of play. I would imagine that this is because it's Army of Renown, that this is, available at any types. So we'll see a little more details as this comes out. And, if you are a Thousand Suns player and you know a little bit more about this stuff than I do, maybe you could chime in the comments and give me your opinion. Does this seem like you're getting a bunch of sweet boosts? Obviously, without knowing the other, potential stratagems, we don't have like the full picture. It seems okay, seems good. Definitely a different way to play your army, which is always good, because if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. If you do, maybe it gives you the way to spam like tons and tons of Zangors. I really like Zangor models. I think they're super cool. I wish they were better in gameplay so that we saw more of them. But yeah, I mean, it seems like, such as their mutant savagery, Warp-Meld Pacts can't include vehicles. So demon engines don't have the vehicle keyword. They have the demon keyword, I think. Man, I'd have to double check that as well. But they have the demon keyword. So if it says you can't include vehicles or demons or cultists, I would imagine they're saying that vehicles and demons is not going to restrict demon engines. Because demon engine is a keyword. But I thought demon engine still had the keyword demon. Man, I would really have to look into it, honestly. Should have done my homework on this one. But I'm sure somebody out there knows for sure. So please do chime in the comments. That, I think, is the make or break for this. If you can still have demon engines and you're looking to play a Zangor heavy army, this could actually be pretty awesome for you. If not, I think it's a complete no. But I would imagine, based on the pictures and everything, that that's their intent. So seems like that's what's going to happen. Now, is a 5-up mortal wound shrug that great? And again, am I wrong about the Zangors? I'm like 95% sure, maybe 75% sure, that they have a 5-up invulnerable save. So they're not actually benefiting from that part of this. So they're getting a scout move and a 5-up mortal wound shrug. The spawns are getting a scout wound, a 5-up mortal wound shrug, and a 5-up invulnerable save. So I think if you're planning on running or wanted to run a Zangor heavy army with a bunch of spawns and some cool special rules, and you don't care about vehicles or demons, I think this is probably pretty awesome for you. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see as it opens up here. See, another thing that throws me off is when they say the Cabal points, because I thought that the Cabal points were only in the narrative play. Zangor shamans who are surrounded by fiendish flock will generate extra Cabal points for all your ritualistic needs. That might not, I might be mistaken about that. See, that throws me off again too, because I can't think what the Cabal points are. I was thinking that that was like campaign play stuff. But that might actually still be in like competitive or like match play. So yeah, chime in. I really don't know a ton. I don't know enough about these, and I had a buddy that played them, and he hasn't really been playing lately. So to tell you the truth, I'm really not up to date on the Thousand Suns stuff. So yeah, if you are a Thousand Suns player, definitely be curious to hear your feedback on this, opinions. You can fill in the gap on some of my knowledge there, or really chaos in general, but probably Thousand Suns can have the best idea, or maybe you just play against Thousand Suns all the time, so you know all their cheeky little rules. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there with my confused state. That being said, I do want to just point out, though, this terrain is pretty awesome. This is super sweet in the background right here. I wish they would remake some of the stuff that you can't get anymore. Like these pillars came from one of the kits, and there was like all these like statues and everything. I really wish they would bring some of that stuff back, because that's some of the coolest stuff, and it's like impossible to get now. So but that being said, gonna wrap it up there. Warhammer Man Studios, if you enjoyed the video today, Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and Warcry content as well. Make sure to like and subscribe. Warhammer Man in the studio, and I'm out of here.